Ungalahli ithemba mntu omusha. This is a transformation week. Sithi ungalahli ithemba mntu omusha. Gqugquzeleka. Yeah.
Hey! Sifuna abantu abazofunda baqhubekele phambili. Uyabona? Babe, sikuze sibe grand, sibe nenyuku.
Swell. Kwamnandi le. Iyouth yonke yase-Orange Farm sifuna yonke ukuthi iphumelele. Iyouth yonke yase-Orange Farm sifuna yonke iphumelele. Phumelela. Phumelela. Ubani bathi sina sophumelela. Phakamisa isandla mawufuna ukuphumelela. Lalela, tshela umakhelwane wakho uthi mina ngizophumelela. Selector, show. All right. Tshela umakhelwane wakho uthi mina ngenkani ngizophumelela. Lalela. Selector. Lalela. In other words, kudinga ukuthi ube nenkani kwesinye isikhathi ukuze ukwazi ukuphumelela. Lalela, you cannot be apologetic. Kudingeka ukuthi ube nenkani ukuze uphumelele. Awutshela umakhelwane wakho ukuthi mina ngenkani ngizophumelela. Lalela, tshela umakhelwane wakho ukuthi mina ngenkani ngizophumelela. Tshela umakhelwane wakho ukuthi mina ngiyalwela. Uma ungalweli ubani ozokulwela? Awukuthi mina ngiyazilwela. Mina ngiyayiphilela. Mina ngizophumelela. Lalela ke, uma ungakakusho lokho okugcwala umlomo, ngithi wena tell yourself mina ngizophumelela. Mina ngizophumelela. Khona ovala umlomo, mina ngizophumelela.
Ngizophumelela. Awusho njalo, ngizophumelela. Ngifuna ukuthi uthi omunye ngicela ukuhlakanipha. Noya. Phumelela bese obesungiphene ndlolo. Asicule song give ukuhlaka bese kwangwani nkuli. Ngicela ukumelela obesungiphene. Cela uyiphinde futhi ngicela hlangana ufuna ingqondo yami bese ungiphani obesungiphani ophinde futhi ngicela anginizwa yami obesungiphani ndlolo ngicela khona bangakufuna ukuhlakanipha
Ufuna ukuba dom, ufree noma udom.
okugcina ngicela yami obesungiphani nhlonipho.
Ngiyabonga.
Cela simshayeleni izandla. You remember the 3 circles, right? You thought because of how he looked, he was in the bigger circle. Thimakangena ku circle encane khani nibona ukuthi le voice. Manje yabona? That's why you must treat everyone as a king. Ne? All right, now to move on to our next session, to facilitate that, it gives me great pleasure to call up a friend and author, very good guy, and a friend of mine, Shem, this young man, Sibusisa Mulimi.
Testing mic. Mic testing. All right, we're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sanbonani. Please look at the person on your left, on your right. Say to them, you look better than the last time I saw you. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nimrod Ngosi. I think the fact that you showed up this morning, I mean, you could have been elsewhere doing something else. For the last 10 years, I've been studying multimillionaires, billionaires. I want to know what makes them special. And one of the things that I figured out was many of them, they just show up. Like you just show up. Because you never know where the opportunity will be. So you are doing something that multi-millionaires and billionaires do. You show up. And you've showed up today. So give yourselves a round of applause. All right, so always remember, show up. Show up. My name is Spusiso Joshua Mulimi. Yesizulu, my name means a blessing. Ngibe Spusiso. I am a CEO, not a chief executive officer, but a catalyst empowering others. I'm blessed to be a blessing. I'm created to create. I'm designed to deliver. I'm engineered to excel. I'm programmed to prosper. I'm powered to perform. I'm manufactured to move. I'm wired to win. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm like F&B, always asking, how can I help you? Like F&B, stick with me. Stick with me. Like Nedbank, I make things happen. Not only do I drink it, but I live by it. Like Hennessy, I never settle. For you see, I'm shapeling mats, oh man. I'm an author of a book titled Work Through the Barriers to Success. I'm an entrepreneur, never worked in my life since I graduated because, like many of you, maybe I studied a degree and there wasn't a need for it. I can to go to university to study a degree, but there is no need for it. Can I see by show of hands, how many of you can relate? You've studied something, but I'm opportunity aware for that thing that you studied for. Okay, we can see it's about 70% of the room. But the focus of our discussion today will be on soft skills. What are soft skills? Because you and I have got a skill. I know much guys who don't have qualification, but they've got a soft skill. One of the soft skills is maybe problem solving. Every single time, and you are able to sort out that problem. Now, you just need to learn how to package it and sell it. Because you may not go and apply for a job. I can post 80 problem solving. We need a problem solver. But each company has a problem. And you and I can become consultants. So we're going to speak about soft skills. All right. The topic for today is the future world of work, the importance of soft skills. And I'm privileged to be your moderator. We're going to be having a discussion this morning and giving you some insight, the information to challenge you on how you can use your soft skills, because we all have them, to get that opportunity. I'm not alone. I've got a panel. Please can we show some love to our panelists? Let me introduce our first panelist, Me Masinyane Molefe, who's the Group Executive Human Resources at PPS. She's with us. Please can you join us on stage? Kupagam Shapeling Matsoho. Our next panelist is Rio Nolushunga, Municipal and Governance, South Africa Local Government Association. Rio, are you here? Not here? Okay. And then our next panelist was supposed to be Usisbusi Mkubuzi, who's the director at Chimong. She won't be joining us, unfortunately. Our last panelist is Nicholas Maweni, the chairperson of Samro. Mr. Maweni, he is here with us in the building. Kuparam Shapeling Matsoho.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, good. Sit here.
All right. Before I get on to the first question, if you've got a piece of paper, something to write on, ngicela ubhalele igama leli phansi, because this is one of the words, or rather a word, that changed my life, and I know it can change your life. That's why we're here. Empower Youth is about empowering you, transforming you, and changing your life. Lelo gama, it's how you write it down. It's L E A R R and N. House boo. So that word is learn or learn. Please can we look at that word together? And there are two powerful words in that word that changed my life. The first one is ear. Do you see? So the function of an ear is to ukumamela ngithi, kumamela ke. But if you write down the word listen, you'll see it's got the same letters as the word silent. Which means it's critical for us as young people to listen. It's critical for us as young people to spend time in silence. Because the biggest challenge that we have are distractions. And the second word in the word learn is earn. Just one word. So I found out that if I use my ear to listen and learn, I shall earn. Never stop learning. Never stop coming to Empower Youth and events like this. Never stop learning. Because once you stop learning, you start dying. Keep learning. Stay learning. And never stop learning. Let's get on to our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to ask you to just introduce yourself, who you are, briefly, your background, and how you got to doing what you're doing today. I don't want to introduce you because then I might miss out some things, you know. We'll start with you.
Great. Morning, everyone, and thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you again for allowing me the space to be here. My name is Masinyane Molefe. I'm from PPS, Professional Provident Society. So we are a financial services company, so we sell insurance, investments, etc. to professionals. So this is what makes us different to many of our financial services sector companies. So what also makes us different is that we're mutual. By that, we mean we don't have shareholders. So if anybody takes up our products, they become members. We don't call them customers. Because all our members, that's all 150,000 odd people who are our members, share in the company's profits. So, we often say we a sophisticated stokvel, if you think about it. So everybody pays their premiums every month, like a normal life insurance, but then at the end of it, they also share in the profits. I think we're the only ones that do that in South Africa, and that's what makes us unique. How I ended up in doing what I'm doing, my story is quite different because I didn't study HR. I often say HR found me. I did my high school, I loved maths, so and I mentioned that because obviously if you are good at maths and sciences, your options after high school are so much more and broader. But I then chose to do a BCom. I majored in economics, and all I wanted to do was be an economist. But there aren't too many, as some of you would know, economist jobs going around. So my very first job was as a graduate trainee in a store in Edgar's in Mafikeng many years ago. And then I moved around different companies. At some point I was a market researcher with the Makinos of the world. Now it's called Ipsos. I worked for the independent newspapers. I ended up at Ask Africa, still in market research. So for a good few years, I was a market researcher. But then I had this feeling, this strong urge to go to really give back to the country. And I made a conscious decision that I wanted to join the public sector. And thankfully, in 1999, I then got an opportunity to join the South African Revenue Service in the good days. So I worked with Pravin Gordon in his office as an executive assistant. So I was at SARS for 9 years, and I think in the 9 years, I had about 5 different roles. And I was very fortunate that in the 9 years, 3 of those years was when I was sent to the UK to become the South African Tax and Customs Attaché. So I dealt, with South Africans that side and all the other revenue and customs agencies being based in London. I came back, did a few things. My last stint at SARS was I was heading up small business. So I'm very au fait with the challenges of running a small business in this country. I spent many, many hours at the National Treasury fighting the cause for small business and about all the red tape and all of the expectations that, that the government in this country requires of small business. And then a big change happened in 2008, where I then came back to private sector, joined Nedbank in my first role now in HR. So it was quite unique because at the time, the person who recruited me basically said, they liked my experience, they liked the fact that I had worked in different industries, and I had a very good understanding of business. So he kept saying, I love the fact that I can see lots of business acumen here, And eventually said, no, we'd been speaking for a while, and he didn't have a role for me for a long time. But he kept saying, you belong in Nedbank. I want somebody like you in Nedbank. I've got to find something for you in Nedbank. And then eventually he then says, no, my HR person has left. So it was a very awkward conversation because I remember looking at him and thinking, why are you telling me this? I'm not an HR person. But he convinced me that, we're looking for a non-HR person to come and do HR. And he kept on saying, I'm tired of the HR types because they think apparently in a certain way. I want you. And he set up the whole thing for me to say, you'll get support. Because I was very hesitant, as you can imagine. I was like, I really haven't done HR. I don't know what you're talking about. No, we'll support you. I'm going to get you a coach. I'm going to get you this. You'll work with people who've come from the ranks, who have known, who know the business and who know HR. And that was 13 years ago, my beginnings into HR. And I haven't looked back. So often, you can imagine, people I used to work with at SARS and before then, they see my LinkedIn now, and often they say, so, Vele, you are this HR person now. When did this happen? Yeah, no, Vele, I'm now this HR person. It is what it is, and I'm loving it. I'll tell you why I'm also loving it. HR has a way, if you think about the country's challenges of unemployment, inequality, poverty, being in HR, in a corporate, puts you very central around those issues to say, you can, we are at the center of ensuring that organizations also play their part. I often say the problems of this country are too big for them to be left to government alone. There is a big part that private sector needs to play. And within private sector, you need those champions, right? Who are going to be saying, but what are we doing for the country? What are we doing about this 74%, 75% youth unemployment? What are we doing about the growing the economy, etc.? So I feel like I'm in the heart of all of those things, which kind of has taken me back full circle, because I'm also feeling like I'm using the stuff that I learned in economics, which I enjoyed so much, and macroeconomics in particular, because the role of the private sector is huge, and what private sector can do is still, I think there's still a big gap in terms of what they can do to contribute to this country. But yeah, that's where I am, and I now find myself in PPS, still doing that. And thankfully for me in PPS, one of my portfolios is also being the executive trustee for our PPS Foundation, whose sole focus is about growing youth. Our flagship project there is things like, we've got a bursary program. We support universities in terms of various things, in terms of funding. We take in graduate internship programs. So the stuff that I really love, where I really feel like we're giving back, or the organization is giving back. So it's actually quite fulfilling, the HR role, combined now, of course, with the foundation role.
Fantastic.
In a nutshell.
So you're international?
I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My brother, over to you.
Good morning. My name is Nicholas Darius Maweni, and I've had a very odd and not as illustrious career as you've had. But I guess mine has been stumbling on a number of things, so just allow me to bore you, and then you'll decide what to take and what not to take and what to leave. I've been in many ICT companies. I started with Vodacom. Gosh, if I tell you when, I was marketing manager in 1999. You can do your own maths.
Thank you.
So I started Virgin Mobile in South Africa. There were 4 of us when I joined. When I left, there were 400. I have been the vice president for IBM Africa, looking after marketing. I've been group marketing director for SAP or SAP for Africa. I, at some stage, decided to take a break and go and work for the blacks. I was the MD for the Black Management Forum for quite some time. I also decided, long before somebody coined the Tumamina, I decided, let me go and lend a hand in my state and be an active citizen. I joined and I was chief of staff for the Ministry of Arts and Culture. And after I did that, they said, man, you're amazing. They used to call me Olivia Pope because I'm a fixer. And then after that, I moved and they said, we've got issues in justice. I moved into justice. I was the chief of staff in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Development. And of course, so I do understand how public sector works to some extent, especially at that level, at high level. And then eventually I also got bored, because we do get bored. And then I was a trained marketer. I mean, I did my master's in marketing probably in 2003. But quietly, I decided to be a closeted legal person. I started law quietly. I finished a master's of law probably around about, I think, 2017. And I went on to register for a doctorate in law. And in doing that, I'm a father of a 10-year-old son who is very naughty, but luckily we don't have television because we decided not to have it. So 2 is also I took it because I want to improve his soft skills, you see. And that's the reason. We'll talk about that. But the other thing that I decided was, many people decided to find that you're not doing anything. So I was brought into various organizations, Valued Citizens Initiative, which I chair the board. I was then asked to come and look after, I'm always cringe to say this one, the SAMRO. So I chair the board of SAMRO, which is Southern African Music Rights Organizations with over 100,000 musicians. So when we hear Beyonce's music, we collect money and give it to her. And even when someone was performing someone's music here, I nearly wanted to send the guys to come and make sure you pay. And also, I'm an activist, so I chair the board of the Amnesty International South Africa. So that's who I am, and I do this because I just don't like my hard skills because they're very hard, but I really like my soft skills, and that's why I'm passionate about this topic, Sibusiso. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, Mr. Fixer. The Fixer. All right. So if you've just joined us, thank you so much. We are speaking about the future world of work, the importance of soft skills in an agile world. And my question to you, Hamza, is give us a little bit more insight on the kind of opportunities that are there for young people that they may not know about, and how they can use the soft skills that they have to get a foot in.
Sure, yeah. So I think we must first be clear that corporates does not have a lot of opportunities. You know, it's not the place to look for job opportunities. I mean, I think we've often said that, and in many countries we see the research that a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs and growth is really going to have to come from small business. And I think for me that should be the big driver in this country, to say we really need to get to a point where the environment is conducive enough for small businesses. I mean, I'm still hearing too many stories of small businesses starting and people giving up and coming back to the formal workspace. But if I think about the opportunities, you know, and opportunities in companies, obviously I think the easiest way right now is probably to go in terms of, you know, the various graduate development programs that companies are running. And a few companies who are, for example, running the YES program that is government sponsored. So there are entry-level roles, right? Obviously, if you're young and probably out of school or immediately out of tertiary, there are those opportunities. In terms of soft skills, you know, I think one of the previous also mentioned that we see too often from an HR point of view, CVs that say the same thing. Everybody is apparently good with detail. Apparently everybody is hardworking. Apparently everybody works under pressure. I mean, we hear these cliches and they are meaningless, guys. They are really meaningless. What would be more useful, you know, is for someone to be able to say, in the time that I haven't been working, right? These are the things I've managed to do, you know, and they can list things, you know, and I'm aware that, you know, there's obviously all sorts of challenges and pressures that people are facing to say, not all of us can go and register for this and that, you know, there's financial issues and that. But, you know, and I often say, you know, I have a small little youth group that I mentor. And I often say to them, for the amount of time that you guys are spending online, on Twitter, on Instagram, can you just spend a little bit of that time improving yourself? There's a lot of things online. There's a lot of, you know, open source courses, short courses, 6 weeks courses, 2 weeks courses, that are free. They are free. Google them and, you know, register for those. That's the kind of thing I would much prefer hearing in an interview. If somebody says, look, I've been unemployed, but you know, in that time, I've managed to finish this, I've started this, I've done this, and I've done the other. So for example, sometimes, you know, you interview people who say, you know, we have a writer position or an editor position, maybe in our marketing department. And you ask them, do you write? Because, you know, you shouldn't wait for the opportunity to come up. Do the writing while you are doing the waiting or the searching. Do the thing that you want to be known for while you are looking for it. I don't know if that makes sense. But don't sit back and say, well, I'm waiting for a job as a journalist. And yet you're not generating articles. Remember, it's a free world now, and thankfully the internet allows us. If you see yourself as a journalist, start writing. Churn out those articles through your socials so that somebody picks you up to say, you know what, here's someone who writes great material. They are unemployed. Maybe that's the person I should look at. You know, don't sit and say, I've now studied, I've got this journalism degree, and I'm unemployed. Churn out the content that you want. Show us the thing that you can do. You know, so I think for me, I'll call on the youth to use that opportunity to say, don't sit back and say, oh, I'm unemployed, or I don't have a job, or I'm waiting for someone, because no one's coming to save you. You know, you need to almost put yourself out there, go on LinkedIn, start building your own personal brand there and profile by, again, sharing who you are about and sharing good content all the time.
Mr. Fix, before we get to you, you spoke about LinkedIn. I have a conversation with many young people. They don't even know what LinkedIn is.
Yeah.
But for real, and I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. We need to share this information because you keep putting your information out, and it could be that the people who need to see your information are not on that platform. Abantu ababonayo into oyenzayo ku Facebook are the people that are friends, right? But are the potential employers on your friends list. So please just share a little bit on LinkedIn and how you can brand yourself to be attractive to you.
Yeah, okay. So, LinkedIn is a very powerful platform, you know. So I think when it started, obviously, it was predominantly a site where you go to look for jobs. But it's changed. I mean, in the last few years, it really is not just for jobs. In fact, they've gone a long way to reposition themselves to say it's a professional networking site. So I think I spend on my socials more time on LinkedIn than on Facebook and Instagram and everything else. You know, I spend my time there because that's where I focus. My view is that I want to build my professional brand and profile. That's much more important than my Instagram and, you know, and everything else. And I think that's where you put your energy is where, you know, the universe will also reward you like that. So on Instagram, I follow CEOs and people who are influential. I follow their content. Every so often, I'll share it on my page if I really find an interesting article. Or I'll write my own thoughts. I'll write about today, the fact that I was here today and what it meant for me. And it's great because every so often, people see you. You'll be surprised because, you know, people do see you. And I think the good thing about LinkedIn is that even though you're not connected to those people, their connections can see what you are writing. And I mean, I've had people, and I often have people writing to me, inboxing me to say, oh, we've got this opportunity, would you be willing to, you know, so there's a lot of headhunting that happens on LinkedIn. And it's a joy to be able to say, no thanks, not for now, you know, like, contact me in a few years' time, but for now, I'm good, you know. But I think it's also what people see you doing and the way you conduct yourself there. But I mean, it's a fantastic site. And you're quite right that young people don't know this. I mean, I have a 25-year-old who the other day I said, I haven't seen you on LinkedIn. Like, do you even have a profile? And we had to have that conversation where he said, I then sat with him to say, come, let me show you what you can find on LinkedIn. And then he searched for jobs kind of in his industry. And he was shocked. I mean, he almost fell off to say, wow, I didn't know there's so many opportunities here. And I said, just do a search there. There's a lot of entry-level jobs there. You know, literally people saying, we're looking for a trainee. We're looking for a junior, this and that. You know, so he was, yeah. And I think you're quite right. There is a big missing piece with the youth who are just not even aware of this big opportunity. And I think the joy of it as well is that, especially in the times we're in now, where we now know that you don't, a lot of jobs are position independent. You don't have to be in Cape Town to work for a company in Cape Town. You don't have to be in New York for a company, you know. So it opens up a world of opportunities where you can apply for roles that could be sitting in Silicon Valley, for that matter, or anywhere in the world, and say, I'm in Joburg, and here I am, because that's another thing that COVID has brought. One of the positives that it's brought is that talent has become international. Many companies are now looking to say, okay, we now know that we don't need people physically sitting here in the city. That means the world is our oyster. Let's find that top talent. We don't care if that top talent is sitting in Orange Farm in South Africa and we're sitting as our head office in Spain. Companies are already looking for those skills to say, you know, where are these people? And of course, for us with the rand-dollar exchange rate, it's cheaper for those companies to get their skills here. While you are based here, they pay you in dollars. It's still way cheaper than, you know, getting somebody locally there. So the world has really opened up in terms of talent sourcing.
Fantastic, thank you. So if you don't know what we're talking about, because we're just saying LinkedIn, it's www.li. We're here to help you, and more than just inspire and empower, it's about practicality. So give you the website, go onto that website, create your personal brand, create your platform. www.linkedin.com. linkedin.com. Go onto that platform, register your profile, and build your brand. Mr. Fixer, to you, opportunities for young people in the sector that you're in, and soft skills which you think need to be a big focus for young people.
Sure. So let me start with and take on the LinkedIn part. You can't force young people to go into LinkedIn if they don't want to be there. That's okay. Those who find LinkedIn and those who know where LinkedIn is will find it. That's okay. Where do you find many young people? They are on other social media platforms. They are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And it's okay. The challenge that I found is one day I was in a panel interviewing a number of individuals, could have been you. And many of these people, they all studied the same university, done the same things. Now you have to decide, who do you choose? They probably were sitting outside and saying, yeah, they're copying each other, sharing notes, which I don't understand why people share notes for an interview when we're trying to get to know you, the uniquely you. So when this person came in, and I thought, I'm not going to be bothered and ask you, tell me about yourself, which is a lame, terrible question in an interview. You've got a CV, why should we ask you to do that? Guess what was the question? We want to get to know you. So I said, I want to get to know you. Are you on social media? Yes. And I said, wonderful. Let's project your profile on. We projected the profile. Many people cringed and they went right under the table. Because one of these individuals was making fun out of another lady because she was big-breasted. This individual was making fun of things that were not really fun. This is the reality. This is how we're going to interview you. This is how you show up. This is your website. This is an extension of your personal brand. And you want us to ask you questions. Tell me about yourself. And you're going to say you're a people's person. And yet, on social media, you are liking all things that will make many people to cringe. This is what soft skills is about. Soft skills about how do you communicate. I think it was Nokthula Sibusiso who wanted not to ask a question but to make a comment and raise an issue and said, maybe this thing got wrong in the school curriculum. Now here, we are not educational experts. You can scream to the government until your ears are blocked. They will listen if they want to, they will not. What we can change is what within ourselves. You finished school, some of you. You are now here. Let's deal with it. We've missed out. The fact that they did life orientation and they use that subject for all sorts of things and they didn't do soft skills. That's the reality. Now we need to deal with the socially inept individual who's coming looking for a job and who's asking questions that are just so irrelevant. If you ask me if there were 3 things that you want to take away, I'll make it easier. It will be learn to be an effective communicator. Dwell on that. You've got your hard skills. There were a number of people who raised their hand and said they've got qualifications. They're great, by the way. It means you can do a project and finish on time. That's what it means. But what we're looking for, we want to engage with you. The soft skills, we want to know, are you an effective communicator? 2, do you care? Not just say, yes, I care, but do you have empathy? Can you connect with people? The 3rd one, can you collaborate? It's becoming a big thing. Globally, everyone, you're probably going to be I'm thinking in 2010, I was VP for IBM. My PA was based in Dubai and was based in Sandton. That's my world. It was like that in 2010. Does that make sense? You need to learn how to collaborate. Are you going to say, "Eish, I'm collaborating with, what's this guy, man, is there in Japan?" Do you understand the social nuances? Is this making sense? You need to learn how to collaborate different racial groups, different age groups. This is what people are looking for. And of course, as I see these people walking in, I'm thinking about another big one is time management is crucial. You've got to be on time. You've got to be on time. It's a soft skill. They don't teach you this at university. They don't teach this at college. You lose out an opportunity just purely because you are not on time. Those who are tenderpreneurs, you lose out on the tender purely because you forgot to deliver your tender on time. So I should pause there and see how the conversation goes.
Soft skills. Time. 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 I think when you said time management, I saw a lot of people looking down and looking around. This thing that black people are never on time is rubbish. I think it's got more to do with respecting the opportunity and respecting people. Now, we all have weaknesses, right? So we're not here to, make people feel lower, but to challenge you and to say, maybe if that's one of the soft skills that you're struggling with, let's help you. Let's stick on time for a bit. I'm a young person. I'm always late. I don't know why, but I'm always late. Like, ngiphuма ngesikhathi but ngifika late. How do I deal with that? How can I become more effective in my time? How can I respect time more? Is it a mindset? Is it a behavior? What can I do?
I think time management, it is a big problem. It really is. It's about how seriously do you take yourself? Because, again, everybody has big dreams. Everybody wants, and we all, I guess, there are basic universal human things that we want. We all want success. We all want to provide for our families. We all want our kids and families to have, good health, good schools, and all of that. But it's in what do you do every day to take you there? Otherwise, a plan becomes a plan. In fact, it becomes a daydream until you actually action it. Because everybody that I speak to has similar dreams and goals. But it's about what you do on a daily basis to show up, to say, I want to be, they always say, live in the future you. Everybody has a view of what their future selves is. But every day you must ask yourself, what have I done today to get me closer to my future self? Because I feel like a lot of us are living on this treadmill on a daily basis, treadmill to nowhere. You really need to say, on a daily basis, I'm going to spend, these are the things I'm going to do to show up. One of them is show up on time, because it means you're respecting yourself, but more importantly, you're respecting the person that you are meeting, right? Or the appointment that you have set. And it just makes your life better as a person once you are able to say, this is my diary for the day, and these are the things I'm going to do. Try it for a week, for a month, for a few months, and see how much your life would have progressed in that time. I think, let me just use this opportunity as well to say to young people that never stop learning. And I know we say that all the time, but if I were to ask around this room today, who is learning anything? Who's registered for either a formal course or an informal course somewhere? Maybe let's do a show of hands. There's a few hands. There should be more hands, guys. All of us should, at any given time, if we really want to take ourselves seriously and if we're really going to talk about continuous learning, none of us should be sitting not learning anything. I mean, the question I have to ask is then, what are you doing with your life? Because we all have 24 hours in a day. And that's another thing. So 24 hours, I often say time is the biggest equalizer. Mandela had 24 hours in a day. Mother Teresa had 24 hours in a day. Steve Jobs had 24 hours in a day. You and I have 24 hours in a day. The big differentiator is how are you using your 24 hours? Are you vegetating in front of the TV every day, year in, year out? If you are I hate to break it to you, that your life will be the same year in, year out. The people, one of the common things, I mean, there's a high correlation with successful people and what they do in their free time. And I say, free time like that. They don't, like most of us, just come in after work or whenever, whatever, and just vegetate in front of the TV and take in whatever is being fed by the TV. You watch TV intentionally to say, I'm watching this program, I'm switching it off. For the rest, I'm going to be intentional about my growth. I'm taking myself seriously. I know I veered off course a little bit in terms of your time question. But I think, I think this also talks to how you spend your time, right?
You're still on track, with regards to the 24 hours. Mr. Fixer?
Yeah, I think I alluded when I could see many people were cringing when I mentioned that we don't have a television. And it was a choice and a decision that we've made. We don't have, what is this fancy stuff, tablets with the child. And that's it, the decision that we made. We engage. We talk, and we ask questions. We have radio, and that's what it is. And one thing that I picked up is based on some of the peers, particularly for my son, he's engaging a lot more. The basics that you would have learned when you were young, which are the soft skills that were taught at home, the thank you, the please. The soft skills are when you're writing an email to your boss or to anybody else, do you consider those? Thank you, please. Those are the soft skills. Let's come with the time. You see, I don't know, it's not a behavioral thing. People need to learn. You learn time management. You can learn time management. I used to have a friend who was battling with something, and until you got to the root cause. So if you say, I'm meeting you at 10 o'clock, he will leave his home at 10 o'clock. And that was until you realize that actually he is on time.
In his mind.
Mentally, he's on time. But where he gets it wrong, he doesn't know what time I'm expecting him to be here. So I then started changing that behavior and then starting to manage him. And managing him was not to say, by the way, I need you to be here at this time before this time. No, this 10 o'clock for 12. Don't do that. Be precise. I need you to be here, not to leave your house. Be here at this specific time. Be specific about it. And if you don't mind, do give a little bit of consequence management. That's a nice soft skill. Do give consequence management and say, if you're not here within 10 minutes, I might just have to do something else. Not I'll leave. That's a bit harsh. I might have to do something else and you might not be able to find me here. Does that make sense? It's nice and soft. And be consistent. Just before something else, when I was the MD for BMF, we used to have a number of conferences. And Bonang Mohale was once a president there, and when I was the MD. And, during conferences, people always come in late. The conference starts at 8. People strolling in at 8:30 and we know we're going to have curtain raisers as speakers. And then during tea time, people, we're still mingling. He said one interesting thing. He said, MD, you will change this behavior today. He says, what time did you break for tea? We said we're breaking at 11. He says, it's now exactly, how long? For 15 minutes. It's now 15:15. Go on stage. There are 2 people in the room. He said, go on stage on the podium. Start the program. For lunch, everybody was in the room on time. We didn't have to tell them. Everybody knew. They change based on that. So that would be my take when it comes to this time management. Let people know that this is how you operate. If they're going to engage with you, this is how you value time, and this is how you're going to relate to them. My friends know if you're 10 minutes late, we don't engage. We just don't engage. I've got another priority. Let me find out what other priority do you have, Sibusiso?
All right, our last question before we open it up to the floor. By a show of hands, are we learning something? Yeah, are we having fun? Fantastic.
Can I just share the website where people can go for those
Yes.
open online courses?
Please, please.
So there's many of them, but I think the easiest way is to go on www.mooc, that's short for Massive Open Online Courses.org. So go to move.org and you'll find a link there which takes you to all sorts of, depending on what kind of thing you want to follow or learn more about. I mean, there's everything there. There's everything from free word courses, free, if you're a content creator, there's everything. So I'm quite sure there's something there for everybody here. So, next time we ask this question about how are you growing yourself, we should not be hearing people say, oh, but I don't have money to register for this, or I don't have that. We all have the time, as we have all established that we have 24 hours, so you make the time if it's important to you. If you decide not to do it, then that's also okay. You must then accept your fate in life, that you know what, I haven't done anything to grow myself. I've decided to spend my data fully on Instagram and TikTok, and if that works for you, you do you. But those are the things I believe we should be, where we should be spending our time when we're online. And it's
www.mooc.org. All right, our last question. So, we may have some young people in the audience who have no idea where to begin, where to go. They don't know which soft skills to work on and how they can access positions relevant for the future of the world of work. What advice do you have for those young people? Stuck, don't know where to go, don't know what skills to work on, looking for opportunities. What advice do you have for them? And in your answer, I always love people to leave with practicality and habits and processes, because it's not just, you can do it, believe in yourself. Please just add 2 habits, 2 books that young people could read, which will help them become better at certain soft skills.
So, websites, and I think one thing I often advise young people to do, because people often then say, okay, but which fields must we go into, So, the world of work, guys, very much follows basic economic principles, supply and demand. Try and find yourself in a space which has short supply and high demand. It's really pointless to go and do and study something that is of high supply, because, there's and low demand. So to find out those things, we have SETAs in this country, Sector Education Training Authorities, and I think INSETA is here, and I think one or other SETA. What each SETA does every year is that from the members, that is the companies that are in this sector, they will ask those companies to say, we submit something called a workplace skills plan. So all of us, I'm in insurance, so we submit with Sanlam and My Way and everybody, we submit to the insurance SETA a list of our workplace skills plan. It includes a lot of things, but what's more relevant today is that part of that report also has something called scarce skills. Scarce skills is the stuff that we struggle with. Even in a country of 34% unemployment, we still struggle filling some roles, right? So that's what we call scarce skills, to say, you know what, we look at these 10 roles or 20 roles, typically when we have when we have a vacancy in those roles, we struggle to find people. There's a shortage in the market for these skills. We send them that. They do a collation now from PPS and Sanlam and whoever else in the industry to say, from the insurance sector or from whatever sector, these are our list of the skills that we need South Africans to focus on that is of short supply. So that's my first advice, to say, go into if you've determined which sector you want to go into, go in there, find their SETA, and find their scarce skills in, just say scarce skills in insurance, you'll find the report from INSETA. And then try and at least get yourself skilled up in those things, because you are guaranteed now that those things are in short supply. We are permanently looking for those things. Right now the big one in short supply is, and this thing kind of goes in waves. IT was the big thing. in the early 90s, I think it's now back again on the table because, IT development, data, digital, that's all the rage right now. And there's a shortage of supply in this country. I mean, I know of companies in South Africa right now going overseas, going to India, again, getting those resources from there and, contracting with people in those other countries. And I mean, it boggles the mind that even with the high unemployment that we're sitting with, we have to import skills still as South Africa when we have such a massive unemployment. So there are plenty of opportunities, but we have to be studying the right things that are in short supply and high demand. And how do you find what those things are? Check with the various sector education training authorities.
Short supply, high demand. Thank you.
So I think Swisses have already alluded in terms of what should be done. I don't think there's a silver bullet here. You have it. Go back to, not to the basics, because I don't think I want to undermine people here and say you need to go to the basics. I think you need to go back to your drawing board. And that drawing board means go back to all those things that you learned at that sort of elementary phase. Those universal values in terms of respect. And that's why I gave you my 3 C's and my M, and I said it's be an effective communicator in whatever you do. Just be good at communicating. 2, just care. In whatever you're going to do, just show some caring. If you don't know how to do this, practice this today, during this session. When you leave, when you go out, find some little gems. How do you care? It's amazing. Someone might just give you an opportunity because of that. Then the second last one is learn how to collaborate. Many people at business schools, they always go into groups and then eventually they start the business because of the collaboration. Just learn to collaborate. Collaborate. It's going to be very difficult to collaborate if you're not a caring person, if you're not an effective communicator. So, and then of course the last one that I also mentioned was that of time management for me. So those will be the one. Here are the 2 books that I would encourage. One is quite boring by many people because people find it very boring. So it depends on where you are on the spectrum. One is called the Bible. Do find time and read this book. It's got interesting stories. It's amazing how the soft skills journey, you find some hard skills and you find some soft skills. It's a nice book to read. It's got the universal laws in terms of what you should do when you're faced with some of these challenges. I would encourage you to read it. Okay? When you're bored, just do that. The one that I was given at a very young age was, it was called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey. It was given to me in 1998. And the only thing that I always remember from this book was, I'm going to paraphrase it, get to know yourself. Just seek first to understand before you can be understood. Just get to know yourself. Find out where are your gaps, or do your own personal SWOT analysis. Just get to know yourself before you can put yourself out there. The last one, Musiso, because I already started on this controversial thing. I'm hoping when we step off this stage, everyone will really go onto your social media and remove all the nonsense and all the things that will embarrass you when that moment happens again. Go and unlike all of those things, because that's the new you. This is how you're going to start with your soft skills. People must see you have now changed, you have now been empowered, and you are now ready to take on the world. So thank you.
Fantastic. All right, we are now going to open it up. Halala question, halala poto. If you've got a question, we'll take 3 for time because we are running a bit behind. Can we please have the mic? The guy with the yellow Sport. My brother over here, 2, and then the gentleman with the white cap. Those are 3 questions that we have. Do you have the mic?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
So, my name is Macintosh.
Your name is?
Macintosh.
Okay.
Yes. Particularly, I have 3 questions. 3 simple questions, yet very difficult at the same time. So, my first question is directed to Mr. Nicholas. So, you talked about soft skills. Particularly, I've learned that I have a soft skill of that people listen to me. I do not know why, but people just listen to me, which means I am a good leader. So, my question is, how do I continue to add value to other people? But most importantly, how do I lead myself? Because what I've noticed is that I have participated in every bad decision that I've made. Then another question goes to Mrs. Molefe. I have 2 questions for you. You said that you studied economics. Particularly, I am passionate about economics. My question to you is that why are we not investing in the real economy? Because what I've learned about us blacks is that we did not create wealth, we bought wealth. Take nothing away from people such as Patrice Motsepe, Cyril Ramaphosa, but they didn't create wealth. I will give you another example. Standard Bank, ABSA, Checkers, ShopRite. What do they all have in common? They are not black owned. They are rather white owned. And then my third question is quite simple. Why is top talent leaving Africa? Thank you.
I like the fact that he said they're going to be difficult before he said them. I love your confidence. Mr. Fixer?
So I thought, in the interest of time, let's take them all,
All right.
and then we combine them.
Okay, fantastic.
That's been effective in our time management.
Thank you. Putting it into practice, yeah?
Good day. My name is Sbuso Manwa, and I just have one question, because sometimes we tend to, when we are in environments like these, be too optimistic by focusing too further in the future or moving a bit too further in the past. So in today's South Africa, many of the youth find themselves in spaces of career entry jobs, small businesses or self-employment, which they find themselves in that position due to circumstance or survival, and it's hardly ever by choice, just to navigate this life thing. So how would you advise a young person to navigate the economic ladder in a harsh environment such as ours?
Yo. All right, we've got. Please stand up, my brother. So give you the mic. It's like they were waiting for you, panel.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Joseph Mumalo, and I'm from Love Life. So my question goes straight to Mr. Nicholas. So I've heard all the, like your journey when you're mentioning all your professions. So my question comes here, be like, to advise this young man right here, be like, how did you keep calm? How were you calm on all your journey, doing everything that you did? Because in these times, I will say by me, I feel sometimes I'm being under pressure, not from family or from friends, but myself alone. Sometimes I feel like I'm running out of time of doing some of the stuff. Because I feel like my drawing board is full of the stuff, but sometimes I see the time's running out. And the other thing is that, Mr. Nicholas, I'm so inspired a lot. Like, I'm so inspired. I would love to know about your, the bricks fashion of yours. Thank you.
So let's maybe try and take in no particular order and go to how to navigate the harsh environment. Don't go harsh, don't go hard in a harsh environment. That's my first thinking. Go very soft. The environment at the moment is so harsh, and that the mistake that many people make is that they also go a little bit harder, and you think what is required again. We've seen, you can go and study until you're blue in your face. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with studying. But then you realize that actually what I'm studying for is not aligned to what the market can absorb. And that's the other challenge. And hence, this topic of soft skills is so important. There are many people that I know of who don't even have a single qualification. And what they do have, they've got an amazing soft skills. And you know why? I can think of another former president of the Republic of South Africa. He had an amazing soft skills. He could wage war. He could rally the whole nation behind him. Do you get the point? No qualifications. So we might laugh at this, but that's the effectiveness of soft skills. They are that powerful. They can help you to navigate. Never underestimate your emotional intelligence when it comes to this. And then let me come to the love life, because I'm saving the what were phrased to be difficult questions. And I want to give them that gravitas, that they are difficult, they must be responded at last. The love life, sorry, I missed the name there. Keeping calm, yeah. Have your own journey. People tend to copy and you want to do what others are doing. Stay in your own lane because you understand yourself, you understand your own personal circumstances, and just stay in that lane. Your own personal goals. Please don't copy Jabulani or Sipho Tsiyetsi's goals because they might not be relevant. Don't be too hard to yourself. I've once had someone who, when I asked them, what are your goals? And people tend to confuse the goals and their dreams. And we know this thing, goals need to be smart, etc., and measurable. And someone said to me, my goal is to own Saturn City. I said, by when? In 5 years. And I said, do you have 2 million rand in a bank account now? And he said, no. And I said, why don't you just have a goal for the next 2 months of having 10,000 rand in your bank account? Start with those basic things. Start with that. Get into the habit of doing these things repeatedly. So I used to be in fashion, and I owned the Bricks Fashion Week. And I used to run the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week for the Mutsepes as well. So we can certainly engage on that. But my goodness, what a terrible time it was for the fashion industry, because nobody wanted to wear anything because of COVID. As I move on to the very important and difficult questions, there was one Macintosh that you asked, and where you've got already a skill that you have identified, and congratulations that you've identified your own personal skills, that people listen to you. And you had everybody here listening to you too. But the thing here is, how do you lead yourself? It's the most difficult thing. It's the most difficult thing because often as leaders, people are ready to lead others, and you never know how to lead yourself. I would probably suggest the following. Rather, get someone that you admire, someone that you really look up to, in terms of a mentor, as it was mentioned earlier on, and have those discussions and find out how can you be helped to lead yourself. And the reason why I'm suggesting this, because you see, if you want to lead yourself, you need to make sure that you have the right tools, and finding the right tools as a leader, find yourself a mentor. I don't want to answer most of these. I want to leave some for you, especially the difficult ones.
Thank you, Mr. Fixer.
Thank you, Mr. Fixer. Yeah, so no, there were some difficult questions there. So let's start with Macintosh and his two very difficult questions. I'm going to start with the easier one. So the question was, one of the questions rather was, why is top talent leaving Africa? So I'm two-minded about this one because, we have a net immigration problem in this country, not immigration problem. Yes, people are living, and this is the thing that we have to accept. Professionals worldwide are mobile. Because if you're a professional, chances are you're in a field that is in high demand worldwide. So for example, if you're a doctor, doctors are needed everywhere. I don't know of any country that's not looking for more doctors. So if you're a doctor, you literally can sit and look at your map and pick literally where you want to go and stay with your family. And people are living for different reasons, you know. Some years ago, yes, there was this fright about South Africa and where it's going, but I think that's less so now. People are really just looking for quality of life for them and their families and for different experiences, you know. We're not getting a lot of, and we're in that space where we service professionals who do tell us they're leaving just because, you know, he said, you know, people get bored. That also happens. You just get bored with living in Joburg. You want to expose your kids to life in Amsterdam, in Spain, in wherever, and often they come back. So it's not so much a vote of no confidence in the country. It's simply because people have those choices. And I think in the same breath, we must also remember that for the number of people who are leaving the country, we have more people coming into the country. I mean, and I think we don't talk about this one often. We often talk about the immigration in terms of numbers, in terms of, you know, the people coming from the rest of Africa in particular, and many other countries coming into South Africa. Many people have chosen from other countries to make South Africa their home. And there are many professionals who are coming into South Africa to make it their home. I mean, if you look at our hospitals now and our universities, the lecturers that we have, many of those amongst the, you know, the African people are people from the rest of the continent who do come into the country. So we must always look at that, you know, that issue, you know, in context. So, it's, you know, yes, we look at the immigration, but I'm more interested in the fact that, and we mustn't forget that, you know, there is even higher numbers of people immigrating into South Africa. The more difficult one was from Macintosh was, why are we not creating black wealth? I mean, if I had the answer to that, I think I would be a millionaire. You know, it is really $1 million question to say, how is it that in, 27, 28 years now of democracy, we have not built companies, we have not built enough of our own pick and pays, and. I mean, the story that actually, you know, is very, always vivid for me is how, if you think about the group Kuro schools. Kuro schools started because they saw a gap in the market. Kuro schools are now in townships. You know, most of the Kuro schools, you know, private model, most of them, regardless of where they are placed, their intake is black parents or black children, right? And you have to wonder to say, how come you and I sitting here, and I think that's a question we all should be asking ourselves to say, why didn't you and I start a Kuro? Why didn't us here, all of us here, start a Kuro type of business? You know, why are we not doing those things? I mean, I know that the government has been talking about this to say, you know, there's all sorts of programs about growing black industrialists and incentives and whatnot. But I think, and I mean, I like your question because it's so at the heart of who we should be and the things we should be thinking about. But unfortunately, a lot of us are still in the mode of, I want to fix my CV, I want to get a job, right? Whereas there is plenty of opportunities. I mean, COVID has also shown many other opportunities for new industries, for new companies. Again, the question is, are we taking those opportunities? Or are we going to sit back and wait for someone, unfortunately in our world, likely a white person sitting somewhere, to open up and say, you know what, we're starting this kind of company and it's growing. So, and I think it is about a lot of the stuff we're talking about here to say, are we really in touch with where South Africa is, what the needs are, and really identifying those opportunities and going for them? Or are we continuing it in our mode of being consumers? We're very much a consumer economy. Black people in particular, we consume, we don't make. You know, I'm happy when I see the new trend of the new, that I'm seeing growing now in South Africa of, you know, people like Batu, sneakers, and drip, and all of those. I mean, there's quite a few now. But I'm loving that because those are people who are saying, but why must we always be buying a Nike? Why must we always be buying all these imported brands, right? We can have those local brands here. And I mean, it's great to see the support as well. So I'm loving that support, but I think we need to be seeing much more of that in many other industries because there really are opportunities in other industries.
Maybe just a quick one. Allow people to move. It's globalization.
Yeah.
Things are now online. You get recruited. I'll tell you at Sambro, We have a Jablane who lives in Alex, who's been mixing song, amapiano. He gets a call from LA to get on the plane, and he's getting a 1 million rand contract. Do you get the point? This is what's happening on a daily basis. Allow it to happen. It's part of globalization. Two is maybe in terms of why are we not building our own, we need to collaborate a lot more. We don't do that. We tend to want to be individual. We want to be the only black at the table. We want to celebrate that it is the only woman, it's the only first, it's the only first, and all of that. We must collaborate. You know that notion, it takes a child to, it takes a village. We have abandoned that village. Let's just make sure that, let's collaborate as we do this.
All right, unfortunately, yeah. Oh, man.
Can I just answer the last one?
Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this session. There are other panels that are coming up on other information. But lastly, I think more than anything else, it's for us to be practical as well in sharing some of the information, in some of the things that we share with you. So just in closing, I just want to make a quick example. One of the soft skills that you really need as a young person is problem solving, right? You're pushing, you're not finding opportunities. You need to solve problems, because that's what entrepreneurs do. They just solve problems. Let me show you. So, Mums, you spoke about young people. There's a skill, each and every single one of us sitting here, that you're exceptional at. It's a skill that you are good at. You are exceptional at it. When people think about that skill, they think about you. It can be cooking, it could be fashion, it could be DJing, it could be dancing. There's that skill. So my skill is empowering young people, is activating young people, is teaching them to be better communicators. I've been doing this now for 10 years. It's a skill that I have. Now let me show you what I do. You spoke about young people. You've got a bursary program. What I'm going to do then is obviously exchange contact details, right? And be professional in my communication. Drop an email, introduce myself. This is who I am. This is what I do. And then what I see, the problem is you sell something without finding out what the problem is. And then you're like, people are not responding to my email. So what do? I say, Manda, you're speaking about young people. What are some of the challenges that you have with your young people? Then she mentions them. Our young people, these are the challenges that we have. These are the challenges that we have. Then I go back with my experience and what I have. As you said, you've got young people that are struggling with procrastination. I've got a book that will share 5 strategies on how to improve procrastination. Have a look at the book. I'm helping her with problem solving. She's got problems with the young people. Yeah? You've got the solution. So find out, lastly, as we close it, because we're speaking about soft skills. Find out what the challenges are. Go back to the drawing board and come up with solutions and then sell. I can't get into Vodacom. I applied at Vodacom in Funispani. They rejected me so many times. So I went to the youth department. I found out who's in the youth department. The lady, we built a relationship. I'm finding out what are the challenges of young people. She's telling me, I'm going back to the drawing board. She's saying, okay, we need these solutions. We need these problems. Our young people can't communicate. I put together a program, and then I sell it to Vodacom. So I don't want to be an employee of Vodacom. I want to be a client. And that's the mindset we should have. Find out what the problems are. What's the solution? Package it, and then sell it. Soft skills in the agile economy. Parting shots?
Yeah.
Time is important. Don't want to take any more time from the next panel.
Okay. Yeah.
Time is gold indeed. I think for me, it's also that time of the year where, again, just addressing that one question that we didn't address about entry-level roles. Many organizations now are advertising for bursaries for next year. Many organizations are advertising for graduate intakes for next year. So this is the time to go online, search for those companies. We are also, our graduate intake program has we've just started advertising. So if you go on our website, if you go to Professionals Connect, professionalsconnect.co.za, very easy, professionalsconnect.co.za. There is an advert there for, we're wanting to take new graduates as interns. And luckily, for a lot of our graduates that we take every year, for most of them, we are able to absorb them and and make them permanent at the end of the 1-year internship. So do apply there. Apply as well if you're wanting to study full-time. There is also the bursary program that's open. Lastly, we also run a program called LEAP, where we teach young people. Obviously, we've been doing it mostly virtually now, but people can log in. LEAP is where we teach people about work readiness, what to do when you land that first job, because we are also finding these are the things that you're not taught at school. We teach you everything about personal branding, a lot of the stuff that we spoke about today, how to write your CV, how to show up at work, do's and don'ts, because you'll be surprised as well how people don't know those things. And final one is that once you land that job, please treat that job as gold. We are sitting in a country, again, with high unemployment. One of the saddest things to see from an HR perspective is people getting those jobs and completely not behaving the way they did when they sat for that interview. It's like people don't care that I've now got this job. And I often say to people, when you get that job, remember that every day is an interview. How you show up, if you show up, when you show up, everything, you are still being judged. And your future in that organization about whether you're going to grow or not is dependent on how you perform with that daily interview. The interview doesn't end. In fact, it only starts at that day when we call the interview. But every day is an interview. Every day you're being watched about what you do, what you don't do, whether you take initiative, or whether you don't take initiative, the quality of your work, how you show up, your time management, all of those things. You are still being interviewed every day. So, and I really do need people to take that at heart.
When they play music, it's time for us to leave the stage. Mr. Fixter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For the knowledge that you shared and the insight that you shared. Please can we give Mr. Fixer a round of applause? Mama Sinyane Molefe, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming through and for what you shared with the audience. Please can we give her a round of applause? Thank you. And that's a wrap. Over to you, Mr. Nkosi. Good seeing you. What's my turn, Dave?
Wow. Wasn't that brilliant, though? Again, tell us one more time. So, before Kubega, Macintosh, where's Macintosh? Where's Mac? Open Macintosh. Oh, so the great Mr. Lyndon Tuli, the author, has just said I must give you these 2 books, From Sacrifice to Greatness. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Keep pushing your next level. And another of his master books is Your Destiny is Calling. Make It Happen. He says I must give you these 2 books, Macintosh. Don't waste time, Pangisa. Well done. You want to say thank you to Mr. Ntuli? Just say thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ntuli. You do not know how much you have given me such knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Mulimi, work through the barriers of success. He says I must give it to Noma Obang. We've just had a gentleman received it. So let's give a lady in orange. Hi, Banshayile, ne? Yeah, bagcwele ngani banshaya. Thank you to our guests. Bakhulume with aspect of time management, ne? Ngicela ukuvula le shamdu. Sorry. Bakhulume ngesikhathi, ne? basifake under time management. It's kuthiwa khulunywa nge-time management, right? It's, you know why there is time management? Oh, in manje. But ubani uthi bathi ungangithumi, ubani uthi bathi sestage lana, ngiyaspana, it's my time. Bakho no yini dlala. Let's see how many these are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, the host of this function is a very gracious man. I've known him. He's a good man, and he empowers people. He put together a collection of sayings here under the umbrella or the book called The Pitcher at the Fountain of Wisdom. There are about 7 books here. Ngicela ububagaye emuva ntwana. Yeah, into eyi-1, ngicela ubagaye emuva. Olanda omunye we-EmpowaWorks ozobagaya ntwana. Bamba omunye. Yeah, zidistributeni la. Yeah, zidistributeni, and then lezi. Mfethu ngicela uzwakale, uzoqala ngawe uthatha incwadi eyi-1. And then ubhuto next to you uzothatha incwadi eyi-1. Kunabo sisi abayi-3 emva kwakho ubagaye, and then as the Spirit leads. Yeah, that is from Mr. Sampio Masiza. Siyabonga kuSibu Mulimi. Ipha ntwana, ipha. Mr. Sibu Mulimi naye gave a book. Linda gave a book. Thank you. When usithathele yakho? All right, mnumzana. Thank you so much. Ngicela shale nama authors ethu izandla. So kukhulunywa nge-time management, right? Time management. This is a humanly way to think we can manage time. Because they're not actually talking about time. We respect it because essentially and fundamentally we can't control time. We can't control the ages, but we must manage the time according to what we know is 1 o'clock. That type of management. Because it has an impact to meeting yako. It has an impact to your business, whether you are meeting with Ubabuntuli. The time ya lagule matrix is here. But why we should be afraid and even so respectful of time is because we cannot control it. If you can start there to respect an entity or a thing that is above you, you must respect it. Let alone between each other. The one moment you are hugging someone, the next moment you hear that they have passed. Because their time has come. Abanye baba passed away at 21, but bekajava bekumnandi last weekend, right? It's because of this issue of time. Then it makes you sensitive. Ukuthi uspenda kanjani isikhathi sakho nabobani. COVID has taken so many people before we could let them go because we thought it was not time for them to go. But COVID yafika babatata, right? Whilst you still had the argument and thought you had time. And then the next day, your uncle is gone. No more time with him. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we must respect time. That's why we should have fought Gakulu Maktiwa, there is African time. Because there's no rubbish like that. But we have made it to be even a coined word in terms of our behavior, that it's African time. Do you understand what I'm saying? The time of Fikikaya, the time you spend with your parents, the time you spend after yourself, look after yourself, define yourself, who are you? And define yourself according to the world you're going to go to. Oh my word, really? Change is the only constant. As you go to change, we just want to improve you a little bit. Because the world you are going to, you should have changed this and this and this and this. You understand? Yeah, mina nginetemper mina nginetemper mangikwatile ngifana nogogo wami washona 10 years ago naye bekakwatile bebambiza unokwata yala. Why would you be phela ma unetemper siqala ntana buyile emuva nomuntu athi ungasambisi change yourself, respect time. And then they ask a question of the economy, right? About how many years now into democracy, Brandon? What, 26, 27, 30? 37? 27 since. Ithingcela nje ukuthi asigisi. Because the first 10 years, woo, yeah, sibuyile. We are not effectively at that time starting the wealth that we should be creating ebekhulunywa ngayo. So we could have lost 10 years in euphoria. You understand what I'm saying? In the democratic euphoria. Because pre that, leya nyuku leya, bekungasi ezandleni zethu, right? And we will, until, yeah! And then the next 10 years of the democracy, oh yeah, right, South Africa. It's 20 years, now 7 years. How are we going to grow the economy that we said we are supposed to grow? Do you understand what I mean? The reality of that ayikho. Bekumele ngabe when our time came, we were singing of purpose to what we want to do. The Chinese have done it. Over the past 40 years, they were here in the economy up because they are strict. I'm not saying I like their modus operandi when it comes to because the person must be free in the world, right? But they made sure they take over. What I don't like about them is that they're now breaking Africa now. They're feeding Africa. Maify Africa, they give you the tools with nothing speed. But I can't say no to how they made the economy. The number one of the best, you know what I'm saying? And the US doesn't like that. You must spend time reading about business. So that was on about the Chinese economy. Time. It's not the only time or every time where you get on TV. Abanye will never be on TV. Ne? No, I need to be honest. Yeah. Not everyone is going to be TV. You know why? Because abantu abamnyama bafuna ukuba se TV like kube yibo abapresentayo abaziwayo. Yeah, mina ngizovela TV. Akanawo amanye ama goals. Aweka amanye ama goals ukuvela TV. Ukuthi bangibone. Girl, look at the Lord. Yes, girl. But you're good in your wardrobe. The actor has to wear the clothes. But you're good in designing. You're very good in styling. Do you think we bring our own clothes? Really, do you think that? There's a lady that has been there 40 years. Ngamshish. Ukuphi wena? Mara ufuna uku-acta. Ufuna kube wuwe. Pa. There's makeup. Ukuthi masingena ama-lights angashisi. Maybe you do ama-makeup like us. You can learn special effects makeup. Ukuthi umuntu mabamgwazile kanjani. Umuntu when he's aging, how do you create those cracks to be age appropriate? That's special effects makeup that you can learn in the TV world. But it's funukba se TV. Angeke i-actor or i-presenter ikhulume i-sound ingaroli. Angeke. We're not rolling. You understand what I'm saying? I-sound imeli role. Bayibambi boom. I-sound engineer ne-mixer ziredi. So that the actor lizoziwa nithi. Ucama ukuthi i-actor likhuluma kanjani? Kunomuntu onikeza i-actor i-script. But you're so busy on television, you want to be the one. But they are writers. Masikhuluma amagama nomuntu lona. Asinikeze wona. There are writers there, bruh. They are writers. Right? Kunama writer. I-actor maselikhathele, it's lunchtime now. khona abantu abakwazi ukupheka for TV sets and abapheki la kuphela bayakhula umuntu upheka kule show ibusiness yakhe ipheka ku Gomora the same business yabana when ubheke nje ukuvela TV khona uzothola ama likes ne and see that your life has changed. Kunabantu abakwazi ukupheka, kunabantu abakwazi ukulighta iset. Uyazi ukuthi makathathe le light actor angeke ulibone noma kune sound kunani kumnyama angeke ulibone lelo actor. So sifuna u lighting guy azolighta iset mabathi kusebusuku asinikeze the mood yasebusuku ngelight. Sifuna loyo, sifuna uart uye lo yabo leyitulo yabo uye uart neset uye and then actor lizophuza amanzi on this line akusabahla ubona uart uye bekela amanzi because the script says he drinks water. Uart uye lo. You understand what I'm saying? So stop wasting your time ufuna ukuba famous. Sometimes you're just not. And that's where you guys are. Inhliziyo zenu ziphuka at that point. Because nizojoina ama TV agencies. Nibhadala imali. We can make you the next Nimrod. There's no next Nimrod ever. The closest thing to next Nimrod is my son. You will never be me. I'll never be you. But mabathathi inyuku zenu. Mabathathi imali zenu. You'll be the next. You'll be the next. You'll be the next. You'll be the next. You'll never. You'll be you. That's why the speakers told you, find out who you are. In television, people that are coming, fascinating characters, it's because they are there. They are them. You're not the next Brutus. You're not the next Harriet. You're not. I'm sorry. You're not. But you be you. So that we can enjoy you. Right? Ningabe nifuna izinto ze-speed. Television, guys, is difficult. Yabona ma uyo audition ne? I've got nothing to lose mangintshela I mean. Everyone knows this is how I feel. Ne? So I've got no reason. Manya kuma audition. Bayanibiza nonke ngithi nikufila iline nifila amaphepha ne? Uzongena uzo-actor uzenzani? Thina esiphethe le production sesiyazi abantu esibathole. Ne? Sesiyazi. Sibatholile. Bayagcokiswa. Sebayamejwa ukuthi hey uzo nina since usuke Alex le lande ihamba so because I open auditions. Hamba so le line. Hamba so le line ulambe unjani ngaleso sikhathi. Saba nokuthenga nje iwing because ubuyele emuva yi stress. Uyaya le line. But thina sesiyazi. Sesiyazi. By the time ikufika wena sigcwalisa nje ukuthi nizile. Nisibonile abantu bezile begcwele and then sine footage yabantu abahamba kanje. But when anyeka uzube naye le actor elidlulayo ukuthi mina ngene ukuyabona i-movement. Wodlulayo to introduce me coming yangeke uzashaka ukuthi uthi dala odlulile. To the ladies, that industry needs you here all the time. Ningathandi kakhulu ukuba because you want screen time, ladies. Because mau nalaba basemuva elo yambona mdala. And lokhu kuyaphapha nekufuna uku-act ne kufuna uku-act. A simple sound guy can come to you and tell you ukuthi ngakuveza mina e-TV. The sound. Le out sound. Iveza kanjani umuntu e-TV? Mare i-out yayo yi-DOP, Director of Photographers, ne? Cameraman. So that mawuhlele emva kwe-character, the lead character, wena ula. So that la cameraman ifika ikuthole girl. So that mababhekile ekhaya bayakubona ukuthi uwe ungasemuva kwankaba. And then Ethiopia ihlala nawe girl. Ihlala nawe girl. By the time isuka now mabati let's watch it. Uyazibona girl uphelele nangya. Ne? And then girl uvelile TV. It's time to deliver. Come on girl, you said I've given you screen time. How about my time now? You said. And then girl, because we are Saba, you spend time. Time that will affect you for time. And then must stay till famous. You understand what I'm saying to you? This is my industry. People were talking about their industry. Ne? This is our industry. It's our industry. We're waiting for the president to sign Lela Bill Eliti. Manga budlali jem eli. Unganghafa inyungu. Sengumdala. How else are we gonna? It's easy to talk about other professions. And mangenatin ngati laba esidlalisayo to make everyone happy. We matter. During COVID, ubani umngani wenu? Bekubani? Beningavuleli thina. Ani bengizoboreka mangabe besingekho ucinyiwe. Bonyeke uboreka. Bekuzomela uqala ukukhuluma nemedia yakho dude. Sekumele manje uringe nalo muntu. Awusazi uthini. Ula. Ugeza la, ulala la, upheka la. Manje man switcha on thina. At least you are stress. Yombone kamerweni lo muntu lapho ke ngiforced. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you understand? So not as actors, as performers, sound, whatever. Yes. Nicholas. Nicholas, well, I thought he'll be here, but he can coach. He can coach me. There are musicians who get paid because ingoma yabo idlale for some time. And then uthola ma royalties akhe. How do you think I'm an artist overseas baba nenyu? Because yabadlala. Khani manje nge-age yamapiano uzuzwa nengoma nge-Chivenda. You know what I mean? Ujive to isikhathi sakha sikafiki yoyo. Sakubamba lotho. Uyayazi le ngoma ne? Sakufara lotho spinga shana chutufika. Isn't it though? Now you're driving to your own language. Our artists are getting paid. Because we spend time for our artists. It is a serious thing. Anginayo enye into yokuyenza ngaphandle kwalento engiyenzayo. But lento engiyenzayo is predile yona to this because I reproduce my talents elsewhere. Angimanga ukubheka la. You understand what I'm saying to you? That connection, the minute I got connected to Mr. Masiza. So don't waste your time. Spend time with yourself. Mafuna ukhala hambe kamerweni ukhala ne. Uyi-1. Maruphume girl. Phuma guy. Uyawuzwa? Yeah, phume. Le mime seyi-7 ila. Marume kanje guy. Kho umuntu ozokutshela. Mabaso khali. Because ma ungakhali guy, uzokwatela thina esetting. Especially sin mayithi ukwatele mina. So ngibamba kwamampela manje. Kanti khona into zakho. Ma ubamba uNimrod inkosi kanje uNimrod inkosi ngoba uNimrod inkosi uzothi yabo ngibambe kanjani ubandlela extra. Ningangijwayezi ngeextra. So the director sorry sicela uhambe. Okay, so there's a video we're going to play. Yes. There's a video we're going to play, video 1 nje, and then Pastor Mpopo uzasithi bese siya ekudleni. Ne? Ngicela sibheke in video 1. Thank you bafethu. Thank you.
Empower Youth Week Masterclass. Be inspired, be connected, be transformed.
Hi, my name is Nontogozo Madonsela. I am Group Chief Marketing Officer of a fantastic organization called Momentum Metropolitan Holdings. I basically sell insurance. I am excited to be talking to you today to share my story of my career and to give you some tips and some advice so that if you are looking to be a marketer like me, you can learn from my experience and hopefully get tips that will make your journey that much more easier. So let's talk about where it all began. I thought, as I was reflecting on how I'm going to deliver this masterclass, I thought the best place to start is for me to talk you through my CV. So I'm 43 years today. I was born in January the 10th in 1978. I come from KwaZulu-Natal, raised in rural Port Shepstone, then moved to Empangeni with my family. My mom now lives in Richards Bay. But basically, I've been working, I'm 43 and I've been working for 22 years. Where did I start? I graduated at the University of Natal in marketing. In high school, I did accounting, economics, etc. So I was in the commerce field of study. And when I finished my matric at a high school in eSikhaweni Township called Tyson Technical College, I thought I wanted to become a chartered accountant. Why? Because I did great with accounting and my guidance teacher thought I would be great as a CA. I applied for a bursary to study accounting, which I got successfully. But a year into my studies, I realized I actually was not passionate about accounting. How did I realize this? Because every time I talked to my friends who did accounting also, I could feel that they were more passionate about their studies, they were more passionate about the content, they were more passionate about the principles of accounting, and all I was doing is just like cramming the heck out of things, memorizing things. I never even knew why the answers were the answers. I just memorized the answers. So I thought that actually would not be adequate to get me through my degree. At that point, my father had died. My father died when I was doing my first year, actually the first semester. He died in a car accident. And I'm the eldest of 5 children, so my mom was worried about me, I was worried about me, and I was also worried about the money side of things. Fortunately, I got a bursary, which allowed me to study marketing, and I was sponsored by Standard Bank, the retail division, and that made things easy for me. So when I finished my degree, I got my first job at Standard Bank. And I was a trainee at Standard Bank. What did I learn? I learned about the art of service and the art of serving. Because as a trainee, 1, you are junior, you know nothing. You are there to get your experience. But 2, working in a branch taught me how to serve clients, how to deal with angry clients, how to apologize for mistakes I didn't make. You know, if the ATM swallows a client's card, I needed to apologize on behalf of the bank, and I didn't know why the card got swallowed actually, but I had to own up. So I learned about the art of serving and the art of service. The other thing that I learned in that time is the magic of folding client statements for that window envelope that must show your address precisely through the window. I fold like without mistakes, quickly, fast. That's a forever skill. And then I moved from Standard Bank, from being a trainee to having my own portfolio of clients. And really, I also learned about cold selling. So clients would come to me looking to get their swallowed cards from the ATM, and I would use the opportunity to give them a quote on their car insurance because we had targets and we needed to sell. So what did I learn from Standard Bank? How to sell, how to deal with angry clients, how to upsell, offer people things they didn't know they needed, and how to be professional and be a representation of the brand. From there, I went into British American Tobacco, where I worked in Cape Town, city where I didn't know anybody, but there I learned about, I started doing proper marketing. So elements like packaging, pricing, distribution, promotion, and all of the understanding competitor stuff. I sold cigarettes, I didn't smoke. I had grown up with an uncle that smoked, but I had never smoked. What was fantastic is when I joined BAT, I was starting to work in a marketing industry where the tobacco advertising was being switched off. So I needed to practice other components of marketing outside of traditional advertising, like throwing events. I can throw a beautiful event on brand like this. Because I learned that at British American Tobacco. The art of packaging, design, and innovation. If you think about those who smoke, you obviously know that you won't get any. But if you go to a garage and you want to buy your cigarettes, you'll notice that all the packets of cigarettes are beautifully designed, the countertops are beautifully considered, the branding or actual unit where you keep the cigarettes considered, because BAT and other tobacco brands are communicating through design. So I learned that. And then it was the beginning of CRM. So with BAT, we would create parties in order to have communities. So like now you've got influencers. We were doing work around influencers before influencers became a thing. So I loved all of that. After BAT, I had 3 years at British American Tobacco. I went to the Coca-Cola Company. At the Coca-Cola Company, I got to travel the continent. I looked after the brand Coca-Cola in Central Africa, and my markets were Angola, Lesotho, Botswana, Swaziland, Malawi, and Zambia. And so what did I learn? I learned how to do promotions. So I always give credit to Coca-Cola for teaching me the art of doing buy 2 to stand a chance to win, or pay for 3 and get 4, or send a picture of yourself and your Coke and meal and you could win a trip to somewhere. Coca-Cola are very good at doing competitions. And I also learned the art of doing seasonal promotion. What does that mean? Winter is a season. How do you get people to consume your product during winter? How do you get people to consume your product during summer? So we did a lot of seasonal activation. Loved Coca-Cola, loved the travel component. I also learned to be mindful about being Black South African and being a South African in a Malawi or a Zambia or a Kenya or in Angola, because they usually are these dynamics that are unspoken but felt, because, South Africans sometimes tend to think that South Africa is South Africa, which is completely wrong and it offends a lot of people. So I learned about the context. How do we win in it? How do I influence the people who aren't necessarily in my country, but how do I influence them through respect, through good strategies, through good collaboration, etc. After that, I joined South African Breweries. South African Breweries is where I spent most of my career. I was there for 7 years. I worked on a tiny, tiny brand called Brutal Fruit. It was at the time, I'm not sure if any of you are as old as I am, you would remember the ads for Brutal Fruit that were mischievous and really just were telling the story of this sexual fantasy, but from a male perspective. So I was responsible for rebranding Brutal Fruit and moving away from that, which was great. And now when you work for companies like a Coke or a SAB or even a BAT, it is always great if you use their products or their brands. And so I loved that I could drink Brutal Fruit, and I was one of the Brutal Fruit girls. I did a job so good, I got promoted into Carling Black Label. And getting into Carling Black Label, I panicked. Why? Because I would have needed to drink beer and not Brutal Fruit. And being raised in a very strict Christian home, I thought, how do I even tell my mother that I sell Carling Black Label? But anyway, I got over that, did great with Carling, got to work overseas for a bit, and then ended up running a division that looked after events, sponsorship, merchandising, etc. Now, I had always been curious about having my own business. So when I'd done 7 years at SA Breweries, I decided to resign to start my own business, and I started a salon in Parkhurst called Spa 88. I loved it. The only mistake I made is I didn't really consider the financial cost and sacrifice that would be required for my business to have longevity. And so I kept my fancy car, I kept my fancy hair, I went to my fancy holidays and didn't make enough money in the business. So needless to say, the business suffered, I suffered, and my marriage also suffered. So divorce, business gone, and we started, went back into corporate again. But learned lots and lots of good things about just leaving corporate to start a business. And after that, I went to Standard Bank and I freelanced a little bit. At Standard Bank, I repositioned the retail bank, which was fantastic, to go back into Standard Bank. And there I was responsible for What's Your Next, one of the campaigns that I think South Africa is celebrating for the longest time because it was so effective. And then I'm now selling insurance at Momentum Metropolitan. So in my 22 years, I've really just changed companies, changed jobs, done a wide spectrum of marketing. And I now am able to use all of the components of marketing in leading and being an effective group chief marketing officer in my current role. So with that in mind, what do I think one needs to think about in order to be prepared to get into this amazing, exciting career? I've got 4 things that I think you guys need to think about. So the first thing is that if I were to tell anybody who wants to get into marketing, or is still in school or at varsity or in a different career that considers a change, I would say the first thing you need to be prepared is being curious. Now, with marketing, I'm going to tell you, next slide is about solving problems. And to find an answer to the problem you need to solve, you've got to be curious. You've got to be curious because you need to do your research. You've got to be curious because you need to understand what the data is telling you. You've got to be curious because you've also got to understand trends. So when you're in marketing, a lot of your work is going to be on either aligning to current trends or figuring out trends that may not be current in your market, but you want to start leveraging them. So a trend, for example, there's a huge thing right now about saving the planet and recycling. So if you are to get into any business that requires or produces something that damages the planet, you need to read up about, green living, saving the planet, etc. What's happening with recycling? What's happening with the recycling of fashion? What's happening with the recycling of food, etc., etc. So curiosity is an important ingredient. The next thing I would suggest you is being brave. Now, I told you I started thinking I wanted to be in accounting, then I got to marketing, switched to marketing at varsity. I respect accountants. I was married to an accountant. I've got lots of friends who are accountants. I really love accountants. But I always say that if you're an accountant and you make a mistake in an Excel sheet because your formula was wrong, guess how many people are going to know? 0.0099% of people, because it's between you and your boss. Not the entire organization is probably going to know. But if you made a mistake on a billboard or you tweeted something, so bravery is required because the whole world is going to know you made a mistake and you must handle it. So being brave is important. And also being brave is required for people to do work that stands out. If you think about fashion, you would remember brands that are brave in their execution. If you think about artists and musicians, you'd remember musicians who are brave. And because marketing is a creative space, it requires bravery. The third thing I would say you should be is being networked. Now, you will see later, I talk about what specs people require when they're looking for candidates for jobs, or specs that companies put out. But a lot of jobs in marketing especially require you to influence, and you need to influence through relationships. So you've got to be able to build relationships, to keep relationships, to have connections. And in one of the talks that I do, I talk about, for example, having 10 coffees a month or 5 coffees a month, or, keeping your black book, knowing that, I need somebody who's going to help me understand what's going on with social media, let me phone that person. Or we're doing a campaign and I need the FD to fund it, or I need HR to approve something. You've got to be able to pick up the phone and strike a conversation with someone, talk to journalists, etc., etc. So being networked is important. Then lastly is this thought of being versatile. Now, marketing, the profession, has many different facets that you must have the flexibility to learn and to come. I spoke to you about my career. I never took a straight road to where I am. I learned about service. I was in inquiries. I dealt with irate clients. I did, 8 broken ATMs and fielding the calls from there. And then I went and I sold British American tobacco brands and cigarettes. And then I sold Coke. And then I went into Channel and blah, blah, blah. So I moved around. because I wanted my skill set to grow, and I wanted, like I've changed industries. I've gone to sell beer, sell Coke or carbonated soft drinks, sold cigarettes, I've sold insurance, I've sold banking, I've freelanced with agencies. So the idea of having this range and breadth is one that will set you up in good stead. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, we've talked about being versatile, being curious, being brave, and being networked. Is this what I call the is and isn't? In a lot of marketing strategies, when you want to get clarity on a concept, we do an exercise that we call the is and isn't. So if you want to get clarity on, we're going to do a youth day activation, but let's go through an is and isn't so that we do it our way, in a different way. What is it and what is it not? So for me, a profession in marketing has the following is and isn't. Let's start with what I believe marketing is. Marketing is about the art of problem solving. You're studying the 4 Ps or the 6 Ps, however many Ps there are these days, I don't even know. So you've done that. Why do those Ps exist? However many there are. They exist to solve a problem. So you've got to think, like, what problem am I solving? Do I need to think about packaging to solve that problem? Do I need to think about promotions to solve that problem? Do I need to think about pricing to solve that problem? Marketing is a field that is about solving a problem. Maybe the problem is that, you work for an airline. Ticket sales are low. Brilliant. You are doing a campaign to solve a problem. Or you work in insurance, and the problem is that people are not vaccinating. It is a true problem for us right now. So they talk to marketing to solve a problem. How do we get people to think differently about vaccinating? Or you work for a coffee brand, and the problem is that consumption of coffee is low in summer. So you're going to solve a problem. So always know that marketing is about the art of problem solving. The other thing marketing is that it is about understanding the behavioral science of humans. So it is important to know, if you work for a makeup organization, how do you change people's behavior about their makeup brand? How do you get me to move from not wearing lashes to wearing lashes? You've got to change my behavior. How do you get me, when we had load shedding, to use electricity better? You've got to understand human behavior drivers. How do you get moms to buy more cereal for their children? Human behavior. So you would use things like color and design and fragrance and taste, ultimately to change the behavior. The next thing that marketing is about mastery of the context. The mastery of the context. Often when we do campaigns, we need marketers to go to their context, go where your clients are. If you are intending to have a cool sneaker brand for young people, go to where the young people are and look at how they use their sneakers. Understand that context so that when you innovate with your sneakers, you are launching it with a full understanding of the context, and you will launch it within that context correctly. If your thing is about, working on a brand that solves for homeschooling, you've got to understand the context. So you may be a person who is brilliant at what they do, but you don't have a child and you've never managed homeschooling. So you can't solve the homeschooling problem without immersing yourself in the context so that you can master it and then launch your campaign properly. The fourth thing, marketing is about the art of content creation. We are in the age of content. People are needing to be entertained. We need to grab people's attention longer. And if you look at it, just look at what's happened in the last 18 months. People are figuring out how to do content sharper. Rihanna and what she's done with Fenty, brilliant content creation. Fashion designers and how, because the fashion weeks haven't been happening, brilliant content creators. KFC and the KFC proposal, brilliant content. Momentum, and she owns a success, content. People are needing content, and marketing is about content creation. And then last two things, it is about the art of storytelling. We are always going to be telling stories, from when you tell the story about the problem you want to solve to when you actually launch your advert. It is about you telling a story, and it's about the art of selling. Now, what marketing is not, it is not for the sensitive. We do work and we get given feedback by people who are not even qualified to give us feedback. I call them marketers in the closet in the organization, and they laugh at me when I say that, but it's true. Because even somebody who literally deals with, I don't know, aeroplane engines will tell us about a campaign that sells nail polish. Why? Because they just opinionated and are going to give feedback. So you can't be too sensitive. It's not for big spenders. We're in an economy where budgets are low. It's not for party lovers. This whole thing that if you're a marketer and you work in an advertising agency, you'll be high from 9 o'clock in the morning. No, because clients are demanding you to deliver work. So you will party, yes, but not all the time. It's not for, I call it, you know, people who do not be told. Now, I've never done any campaign and nobody told me nothing. I've got to take input from everybody, including somebody at reception in our organization. But so I've got to have the ability to take feedback. And then it's definitely not for the slow, and it's not about you. A lot of people want to create marketing content or campaigns or want to design new, shoes because they're designing it for themselves. But you're not the one, you're not the client. So it's not about you. So we've covered what the marketing profession is about and isn't about. And so what I thought I would do, which was really exciting for me, you guys must try this. Get on LinkedIn and just have a look at the type of jobs you think you might want to go for, or the types of companies you think you might want to go for. Do it now. Go and look at, LinkedIn, search Disney or Netflix or Starbucks or, whichever other brand you're wild for and mad about or obsessed about, and see what criteria they've put out there in terms of skills and knowledge. And I went and I selected a few. Between here is a job, I think there's a Netflix job, there is a Disney job, and there is an Uber job somewhere here. But I've clustered what they require in terms of skills and behaviors according to the is and isn't that I had talked you guys through. So just to prove my point, so you guys can believe me. So I said, number one, marketing is not about for abantu abangafuna ukutshelwa. You know, the people who don't listen, who don't take feedback, who don't take input. Would maybe go and be a mechanic. Go and be a mechanic so nobody can tell you. But so here's what demonstrates my point. So in the job, they say, this particular job, they say the individual who will be successful in this job must have the history of managing and collaborating with stakeholders, ensuring alignment of expectations. There must be, another word, a phenomenal collaborator. Phenomenal, okay? And they've got to have an ability to think end to end with a global mindset, okay? Now, if ungajelwa, you will not be able to collaborate, okay? If ungajelwa, you won't be able to manage stakeholders, because stakeholders will give you a part of what they think in order to contribute to your work. The second part I said is it's not for the sensitive. Characteristics in the job ad, they said they're looking for an individual with an ability to manage through change, act comfortably with risk and uncertainty. They must never stop pushing towards clarity and delivery. You must be ferocious. You must have an ability, like a ferocious attention to detail and self-motivation skills. That means you're not sensitive, because if you are going to manage through uncertainty, there'll be people who change their minds or whatever. So you must actually not be sensitive about stuff. Third, I said it's not for the slow or party lovers. If you think your life is about living a party, maybe work for a media house, maybe work for Metro, I don't know. Because in marketing, you will need to be a builder. You will need to be biased for action. You will need to be, another thing, phenomenal collaborator. You will need to have grit. Never hesitate to roll up your sleeves. If you were out, good times happening until 3 a.m, you will have to roll up your sleeves at 8 o'clock in the morning. The fact that you didn't sleep because you're out partying has got nothing to do with us. And then you must persevere and be hands-on. Fourth, I spoke about storytelling. What does this job require a person? True job requirements on LinkedIn today. They say they want people who are excellent, a person who's excellent data, storytelling, communication, and EQ abilities. Why? Because you're going to get data. A number is a number is a number. When you say 40% of the youth or 53% of the youth are unemployed, that's a statistic. You need to tell a story as a consequence of that number. So storytelling, strong statistical skills, the ability to be effective and to deliver effective and persuasive presentations. I'm persuading you right now. I hope you're believing in my story. That is the art of storytelling. Fifth, we said marketing is about the art of problem solving. Requirements on LinkedIn, true story today, is they need an individual who has an ability to think strategically, anticipate and define problems, synthesize complex data, and develop innovative solutions. You must be a master, I love these descriptors, a master at simplifying complex problems, and be a logical and literal thinker. The last part I said was the art of context mastery is what marketing requires. Why? Strong communication, facilitation, incorporate diverse global perspectives. You must be well-versed in social media channels, branded content development, influencer social metrics and analysis. So this is just a selection of requirements in terms of skills and competence to do with marketing jobs that are global on LinkedIn today, which ties it back to what I said marketing is and isn't. And then as I go towards wrapping up, I want to encourage you guys to, one, know yourself. I wouldn't have known that I didn't want.
Oh, just we're having fun, eh? But what a masterclass, isn't it? That was a great masterclass. So, if you want, there are other masterclasses there. So, if you're Empower Youth, you can go to YouTube, ne? Empower Youth, and you'll find the masterclasses. And now Instagram, EmpowaX Icona. You can hashtag I love Orange Farm as well. You can have hashtag empowered to work. You can do that as well. But later on YouTube, you get other masterclasses, just like Umamu Matonsela has given us right now, okay? So as we eat and Libeless Hamba, eGov Pass, if you want to register your company, excuse me, namhlanje, if you want to register, bazokusiza, at the least bangakusiza ukuthi wenzeni in order for you to register, so that you come and do it tomorrow, right? So, but if you are ready to register a company today, eGov Pass likhona lapha for new companies, CSOs. All right, now we're going to break for lunch, and we'll come back, and then so it's at the last bit. But when we come back, we'll have Pastor Mpopo coming in, and then we're moving on, to Milton course to the next discussion. Omanja, please enjoy lunch. Thank you so much.